Alright guys, and welcome back to the Saints View, the channel for something content for our match preview as we look ahead to Sunday's home game against, can we call them the reigning champions? The previous champions. Manchester City come to St. Mary's for a late kickoff on the BBC, and yeah, I'm not too sure how to feel about this one. Saints have had a week since their last game. Man City have had two in that space of time, but that shouldn't be a problem for them. And going into the game, both teams have had a pretty good restart, both of them just losing once and winning all their other games. However, it is a game at St. Mary's, so is there even any point previewing it? Before we get into it, do make sure you have hit subscribe. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers. The sooner we can get there, the better. Your support recently has been fantastic, so keep it up, and also make sure you'll follow us on our socials as well. Right, let's get into the video. As always with these previews, let's look at the last game for Saints, which was a 3-1 win at Vicarage Road against Watford. A very convincing performance, in my opinion, the best all-round performance since lockdown. You know, yes, we won by a more convincing margin against Norwich, but in this game we started the better side and we were the better side throughout, whereas in that Norwich game, you know, we had a shaky first 20 minutes. We were the best team from minute 1 to minute 90, could have scored more goals in the day. But having said that, I didn't feel like Watford really helped themselves much, to be honest. They didn't show up. Ingsy's in red hot form once again, Ward-Prowse is looking good, but we also had quite a few rotations for the Watford game, and every player that came in did superbly. Kyle Walker-Peters was excellent, Yannick Vestergaard surprised everyone and was awesome. Romeo in the middle of the park, you know, very comfortable. We also saw Shea Adams get about 20 minutes off of the bench and he was fantastic, so unlucky not to score. And to be honest, with that performance, I think he deserves a start against City on Sunday next to Ings, and we'll talk about that in the predicted lineup that comes out tomorrow. But the question now for Saints is what next, because we've hit 40 points, so I just can't see us going down. There's no way. There's no way we're going down. So what next? Because we're 14th, which in my opinion, I've said it in previous videos, I think is a bit uninspiring, but obviously the place we were in around October, November time, I think everyone would have taken 14th. But we're only 2 points off of 13th and 12th, 4 points off of 11th, 5 points off the top half. You know, there's something to play for, I feel. It's just a shame that the teams in and around us are actually winning games, which means it's good that we've won 2 of our 3 fixtures since the restart. Otherwise we could have to settle for 14th, 15th or maybe even 16th, around that sort of area. The way the table's turning out, I don't think we will be finishing any lower than 14th, but that is the minimum benchmark in my opinion. I think we should be pushing and trying to finish as high as possible. There's no reason why we shouldn't. The players mentally could go to the beach, but I don't think Ralph will allow that to happen. I think he'll want to just push and try and finish as high as possible. I think the top half is beyond us a little bit now, in all honesty, just because of the fact that we've got 6 games left. We have to make up 5 points, and the likes of Burnley, Newcastle, even Sheffield United now, Crystal Palace have had a win as well. These teams sort of close to us have started very well, Everton as well. Now, as I said in the introduction, we are going into this game in good form. However, it is a home game, and God, when there's a home game, I just have absolutely no confidence. Now, having seen what we put out against Arsenal, or what we didn't put out against Arsenal, we were so poor that evening. I do worry about this one, particularly the fact that it's at home, not just because it's against Manchester City of all teams. But let's talk about our opponents. Over the last couple of seasons, we've not done too badly against them. We have lost a lot of games though. I think the last time we picked up points against them was back in October 2016 when we got a 1-1 draw at the Etihad. But a lot of our defeats have been by 1 or 2 goals. It's not been too bad. And in those games we've been scoring goals as well. We have played them twice this season already, both times at the Etihad in the space of a week. In the League Cup game it was a 3-1 defeat and we didn't really show up. It never looked like we had any intent to win the football match. But then in the league game a couple of days later we were 1-0 up for the most of the first half and a good bit of the second half too. Unlucky to lose 2-1. And that game we saw a real fight and we saw grit. That's what we need on Sunday if we want to get a result. Now the City side score a lot of goals, create a lot of chances, but they do give away chances. I know they have Laporte back, so that has been reduced, but we have to take the chance that we get, or chances that we get, if we want to get anything. It's so simply said, but they won't give away much and we will be giving a lot of chances to them. We just know it's going to happen. And like I said, we have come close to results against them over the last couple of seasons. You know, we had that 2-1 this season. Last season, 3-1 at home. You know, we battled in that one. Season before that we lost 2-1 and 1-0. So we have come close at times, but we just need that final bit of extra quality. And I feel like this is the best chance we've ever had to get a result against Man City, which is saying a lot because they have just beaten Liverpool 4-0. And that takes me on to my next point. As I'm filming, last night they were so good. They were absolutely immense. blew the now new champions of England away with a 4-0 win. Should have been more, probably should have been 5 or 6. They were just sublime. And Liverpool looked shook. I mean, they might be a bit hungover from their celebrations, but I mean, Man City really turned it on and tried to prove a point. They wanted to prove that they're going to be properly in for the running this next season, because let's be honest, this season they've hardly given Liverpool a challenge. Now, they were incredibly rampant on Thursday. I mean, the game is coming 3 days later. Will they be a bit tired? Yeah, maybe, but they come into it in very good form, and I am worried. However, I am no expert on Manchester City, of course, so I've asked Joe Butterfield from City Extra to come on and give us all some insight on everything that's happening at City and how he's feeling ahead of the game on Sunday at St. Mary's. Right guys, we are here with Joe from City Extra for the opposition insight ahead of the game against Man City on Sunday at St. Mary's. Joe mate, how are you?
Good, yeah mate, how about you?
I am okay. We'll see how I am come Sunday. But first of all, mate, we've got a couple of questions for you. Of course, to start off with, it hasn't been the season that everyone would have wanted, I assume, at City, seeing Liverpool win the league by such a big margin. Has it been a disappointment for you, or do you think you sort of expected this sort of season?
It's difficult to say that anyone really sort of expected this sort of season specifically, with like not having even like a title challenge at all, really, as far as I'm concerned. I think expecting 3 in a row in the Premier League is something that, you know, not many fans can really be disappointed that we've not managed to achieve, because doing that is like not many clubs at all do that. So, you know, I wasn't disappointed that we've not managed to make it 3 in a row, but the fact that we've been like 20 points behind Liverpool for the last, you know, 6 months basically, it's not good enough, and it's something that hopefully like we'll look to rectify in the summer. But I mean, we've won the Carabao Cup. We're still in the FA Cup. We've got a good shot at the Champions League, I think, this year. So it's still, if we were to win just, you know, the FA Cup on top of the Carabao Cup, that'd still be a successful season for me. Whether, you know, no matter how the actual season itself looks in the Premier League, I think trophies are trophies at the end of the day.
But what do you think it comes down to in terms of this poor season? Is it Laporte being injured? Is it this lack of defensive stability, which I guess leads to the Laporte being injured, or is it something else, do you think?
It's mostly Laporte being injured, I would say, but it's when you combine that with the fact that we let Vincent Kompany go and didn't replace him. So you've basically, with Kompany going and not replacing him, you've already created a problem in defence from the get-go, because he was, as much as he has his injury problems, he's basically guaranteed to be injured for a couple of months every season. That's just part of Vincent Kompany. Despite that, he was still, I think he was pretty much there for every single one of the 14-game win streak that we had at the end of the season that won us the league. So if you lose him, you've already lost something massive, and that's not something the club could do anything about. They tried to convince him to stay, and he was just like going out on a high. But then when you sort of think, all right, well, we can live with that. We'll just slot Fernandinho into centre back, which is, I don't know. If Laporte was fit all season, that might have worked. But then obviously when you factor in the fact that Laporte did get injured, which obviously isn't something that anyone at the club can really plan for, it's just, yeah, it's a combination of factors, and it's just a bit of, it's bad luck, but also bad squad planning at the same time.
Okay, well, it's fast forward sort of 3, almost 4 months. We're back playing football. Obviously, Liverpool have won the league now, so the best City can do is second. How have you sort of rated their overall restart? Because it was a defeat to Chelsea, but besides that, from what I've seen as a neutral, they've looked pretty decent.
We'd looked so good in the 2 games previous to it. We beat Arsenal pretty comfortably. We smashed Burnley as well. Obviously, those 2 teams have shown since the restart that they're not in particularly great form. So it's maybe beating those and getting cocky about it was a bit, you know, a bit premature. But Chelsea just looked like they were up for it on that day. They had a top 4 place to fight for. Maybe City had half an eye on the fact that we had Newcastle that weekend in the FA Cup, which, you know, realistically was a bigger game for us, because that's staying in a competition we can still win. Whereas playing against Chelsea is just, you know, a Premier League game where the Premier League games between now and the end of the season are basically just dead rubbers. We've got second place pretty much wrapped up, and we're not going to win the title. So I think there's maybe a bit of an element of complacency at the Chelsea game. But since the restart, on a general note, especially last night beating Liverpool, we've looked really good. The Chelsea game was very much a one-off. So if we can hopefully keep going with this kind of form for the rest of the season, I reckon that puts us in a good place for the Champions League coming up in August.
3 days between absolutely battering Liverpool and playing Southampton at St. Mary's. I know, City do play games every week, 3 games a week even, but because we've come back to the restart and not everyone's fully fit, do you think that the fact that the games come so quickly could be a downside for City on Sunday?
Possibly. We'll see a lot of rotation, I think, because I think especially when you play against Liverpool, that's going to be a pretty tiring game in itself anyway. So to only have three days between playing Liverpool and then having another Premier League game afterwards is definitely not ideal. I think you will see a good chunk of the squad get rotated out for the game on Sunday. The defence might be an entirely different back four, maybe, which would be strange. But yeah, I think, like I say, we're used to sort of having these games come quite thick and fast anyway because of having European competitions throughout a lot of the first half of the season and just being in the Carabao Cup and stuff like that. So we should hopefully be able to deal with it. But obviously the fact that, it's only been 2 or 3 weeks since the restart and we've already had like 5 or 6 games. So it's a lot to do, especially after having such a long time off as well. So there's a chance it could be a factor. But hopefully we've experienced enough to be able to do it anyway.
Or do you feel like Saints are a bit of a threat? Possibly. Like, do you think that it might not be City's afternoon on Sunday, or are you pretty confident going into this one that it's just going to be a routine performance for City? A couple of goals, 3 points, and then you go home back to Manchester.
I quite like the way that that Hasenhüttl has got Southampton playing, especially when you consider that Leicester game that he had to come back from. Like the way that he's got them back up and running since then's quite, really impressive. In terms of realistically, as a City fan, it's difficult to say anything other than we should be quite comfortably beating Southampton. But I think if Southampton play quite a high energy pressing game against a rotated team of ours, where we're probably going to have Otamendi at the back, we're probably going to have Fernandinho at the back as well. We'll probably be playing. Maybe Cancelo will come in for Walker. Maybe Zinchenko will come in for Mendy. We've got, if that's the case, then we have a back four that can be got at, especially with a lot of high intensity pressing. So if that's the game that Southampton play on Sunday, then there's definitely a threat that they can pose there. But I'd like to think that even with that, the front three that we'll put out should be able to score goals no matter what.
Yeah. Well, just to wrap it up, then, mate. What is your score prediction?
I think we'll score 3 or 4. Honestly, if a few of the players from Liverpool stay in, then they'll be on a real high from that. And I think a lot of the squad will have a bit of a point to prove, the ones who have been rotated in, that they should play more games between now and the end of the season. Yeah, I'm going to say 4-1. Okay. Off the top of my head.
No, that's fair enough. I said 3-1, but that's obviously me being biased. So, no, I think that's pretty fair, to be honest. Well, Joe, mate, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you if they want to see your stuff, I guess? People
can find me personally at Joe Butters, all one word, on Twitter. But you can find City Extra at Man City Extra on Twitter. I think I've got that right. You stick it in the description.
I'll put it in. Yeah, no, it'll be in the description. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, no, thanks for coming on, mate, and obviously may the best team win. Thanks for coming on, Joe. I'll leave his Twitter handle in the description below, and of course, go check out City Extra, the best place if you want your Man City content across social media. Right, on to my prediction. Is it even worth predicting? You know what, I feel like we're going to do okay. I think we'll play better than we actually did against Arsenal in this one, which is weird to say because obviously Man City are a much better side, but I feel like possibly the fact that it's coming 3 days after a difficult game against Liverpool, I know they absolutely battered them, maybe that could help us. I don't know. I think the fact that we've had a week off will help, and we'll have players sort of coming back fresh, and that could be a benefit. But Ralph will have a selection headache, which is obviously a very good problem to have. You know, the fact that they have Laporte back gives me very little hope about even scoring a goal in this one now. I think if they didn't have him back, we'd have a much better chance because we've seen them give away dodgy results throughout the season. But I think this is going to be pretty routine for City. I think it's going to be a 3-1 win for them. I just don't think we're going to get anything from this one, but to be honest, I'm more worried about just keeping the goal difference down, because if we don't show up and they do, it could be a very long evening. But I want to see us battle, I want to see some fight, and look, if we lose but we've put in a decent enough performance, I'll be happy. Right guys, that is it for the preview. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, leave it a like. Let me know in the comment section below your score prediction and how you're feeling ahead of the game. If you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do. Follow us on all of our socials, and we'll see you tomorrow for a predicted lineup. Take it easy guys.